When I was little, I had this strange gift, or curse, depending on how you look at it. I would see things that weren't supposed to be there. It all started when I was very young. I had this imaginary friend named Mariana. I don't remember much about her, but my mom tells me that I spent the entire day talking to her, playing games, and even insisting that Mariana was real. I was so convinced that I even called her my baby. That night, my grandmother called my mom, crying. My newborn cousin, also named Mariana, had died that very day. My mom was shocked, her mind racing back to my constant chatter about my friend named Mariana. It hit her hard. She and my grandmother prayed outside my room, trying to make sense of it all. A few moments later, I came out of my room, sobbing uncontrollably. I told my mom that my baby had gone away. The look on her face was one of sheer terror. From that day on, my life was filled with unsettling encounters. I would see shadows and shapes in places where no one else could. It was like something beyond my understanding had marked me, and my childhood was forever changed by those early, eerie experiences. As I grew older, the unsettling experiences didn't fade away, they intensified. I began to see shadows and shapes in the most unexpected places. Hospitals, with their sterile, impersonal hallways, became the backdrop for my darkest encounters. I'd see fleeting figures in the corners of my eyes, always just out of focus, disappearing before I could make out any details. It was as if the very walls were hiding something from me. Cemeteries were even worse. The quiet solemnity of those places made my skin crawl. I'd see dark, fleeting forms darting between the gravestones, and hear whispers that seemed to drift on the wind. My heart would race, but I could never make out the words. It felt like something, or someone, was always just beyond my sight, watching me. My family's beliefs didn't help. We're a deeply evangelical family, and to them, my experiences were more than just unsettling, they were a gift. My grandfather, in particular, held firm in his conviction that I had been blessed with a special ability. He spoke of it as a spiritual gift, a way to see beyond the physical world into a realm most people can't perceive. He called the shadowy figures corrupted souls and suggested that my encounters were a sign of my connection to the spiritual world. The more he spoke about it, the more I felt trapped between two worlds, one filled with the tangible, and one filled with shadows and whispers I couldn't escape. My nights were plagued by restless sleep, and the fear that I would see something I couldn't understand, or worse, something that wanted to reach out to me. It was as if the veil between the living and the dead had grown thin, and I was forever caught in the middle, unable to escape the ghostly realm that lurked just beyond my vision. A few months ago, I was home alone, which was something I usually enjoyed. The quiet was a relief from the constant noise and chaos of everyday life. But that night, the silence quickly turned oppressive. I was in the living room, lost in a book, when I heard a faint, unnerving noise from the hallway. It was the sound of the closet door creaking open by itself. My heart started pounding as I set my book aside and walked toward the sound. The house was dark, the kind of dark that seemed to swallow the light. The hallway was eerily still. I approached the closet, but when I reached it, the door was firmly shut. I stood there, straining to hear anything else, but the house was quiet once more. I turned to head back to the living room when something caught my eye. In the kitchen, the wall was bathed in the soft light of the street lamp filtering through the window. And there it was, an unmistakable shadow, distinct from my own, moving slowly across the wall. It wasn't just any shadow, it had a shape, a form, that was both unsettling and foreign. It felt like it was watching me, lurking in the periphery of my vision. My breath caught in my throat as I froze, unable to move. The shadow seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, its shape shifting and elongating as if it were trying to reach out. I took a step closer, my feet feeling like they were stuck in place. The shadow's movement grew more erratic, almost as if it were aware of my presence and reacting to it. I finally gathered the courage to turn on the kitchen light. As the room flooded with brightness, the shadow vanished instantly, leaving only the lingering feeling of dread. My hands trembled as I scanned the room, but there was nothing, no sign of the shadow, no explanation for the sounds. That night, I lay awake in bed, every creak and groan of the house amplified in my terrified mind. The shadow on the wall had been a silent, sinister presence, and its sudden disappearance left me more unsettled than I had ever been. The fear that something was still lurking, waiting for the darkness to return, kept me awake, eyes wide, heart racing. Every day since that night, the anxiety has been gnawing at me, a constant, insidious presence that shadows every moment of my life. The fear of being alone in my own home has escalated to a point where I can barely tolerate the silence. Every small noise, every sudden draft, feels like a prelude to something terrible. My heart races at the slightest sound, and my mind races even faster, conjuring images of shadows creeping along the walls. The house, once a sanctuary, has become a labyrinth of dread. I find myself avoiding certain rooms, especially those with the darkest corners, and I keep the lights on in every room, convinced that darkness is a harbinger of something sinister. The feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following my every move, has become a constant companion. I check every closet, every corner, every shadow, but nothing ever shows itself, not anymore. Adding to the torment is the disbelief and skepticism from those around me. Friends and family dismiss my experiences as products of an overactive imagination or stress. They can't understand why I'm so terrified of what they believe to be nothing more than tricks of the light or simple creaks of an old house. Their rationalizations only fuel my internal conflict, making me question my own sanity. I start to wonder if I'm imagining things, if the shadows I see are nothing more than figments of a mind strained by fear. I wish I could ignore these experiences, rationalize them away, but the terror lingers like a phantom. The skepticism of others is a cruel reminder that I am alone in my fear, and the shadows that once seemed to have a life of their own now feel like a reflection of my own internal darkness. The house that once felt like a home now seems like a prison, and every sound, every shadow, is a chilling reminder that the fear is very real, even if no one else believes it. No matter how hard I try to push the fear aside, to rationalize away the experiences that have haunted me, they refuse to be silenced. The terror lingers in the corners of my mind, an ever-present shadow that won't be ignored. I've tried everything, prayer, meditation, even therapy, but nothing seems to ease the dread that has become my constant companion. The encounters remain unresolved, and each new occurrence only deepens the mystery. I find myself obsessing over every shadow, every noise, trying to find a logical explanation, but the more I search, the more elusive the answers become. The fear has become a part of my daily life, a dark cloud that hangs over every moment. It's as if the shadows and sounds are deliberately taunting me, leaving me in a state of perpetual unease. The most chilling part is the sense that there is something more sinister at play. I can't shake the feeling that these shadowy figures are not just random spirits or figments of my imagination. There's a malevolence to them, a sense of something deeply troubling and dark. It's as if they're trying to communicate something, or perhaps they're simply feeding off my fear, growing stronger with each passing day. I've started to wonder if there's something hidden, something I haven't yet discovered, lurking just beyond my understanding. The shadows feel like a puzzle with pieces missing, a riddle that can't be solved. The more I delve into the mystery, the more I feel like I'm getting closer to something horrifying, something that might reveal a truth too terrible to comprehend. And so, the terror remains unresolved, leaving me with a chilling, unsettling feeling that I can't escape. The shadows in my home and the whispers in the dark have become more than just experiences. They've become a profound mystery that leaves me questioning everything I thought I knew about the world. As I lie in bed each night, the darkness feels heavier, the silence more oppressive, and the shadowy figures more threatening. It's as if the very essence of fear has taken root in my home, and no matter how much I try to understand or escape it, the terror continues to haunt me.